Hey guys, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. I thought this would be a fun little thing to do, just because I feel like if you weren't around in the early 2000s and didn't see some of these jams, I saw this at the Dollar Show. We're going to get into the Dollar Show once we start the podcast and my anger about it. And by the way, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Hi to all the new subscribers. Welcome. But because I miss Brian Cox and my uncle who reminded me of him who passed away, I'm like, okay, let's revisit things because X2, X-Men United is one of the first reviews I ever did, and I stand by this. I think he is the best villain in any Marvel movie ever. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Troy, okay? And its connection to Game of Thrones and why there's very big similarities here that I'm like, oh, okay. I cut out for a minute there. But everything about this movie says that it should be on par with, if not better than Gladiator. I love Gladiator. Don't test me. The Frost, sometimes it makes the blade stick. I didn't say I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once. Like, we can go back and forth about Gladiator all day. People should know when they're conquered. I'm not going to keep going. But Troy has it all there. Brian Cox, Peter O'Toole, Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom, Brad Pitt, Brendan Gleeson, and then Sean Bean, where he gets to live. Do you know how happy he probably was when he got to read, like, oh, I'm finally going to be, I'm Odysseus? He makes it. Great. So then I'm watching it, and I'm like, how come this is kind of just remembered as, like, only us people who, like, were around when it came out and are like, no, this is a freaking jam, and we are lions. Love it. Is it really that bad? No, it's not. This is a visually stunning film. The score by Horner is amazing. Everybody is doing their hardest. I know that Brad Pitt in the past has said that he really regrets being so relaxed about everything and not trying as hard, but I thought the aloof part of Achilles was part of that character, and it added to it. But yeah, dude, this isn't as bad as people I think it is, but it's not great. It's not great. And the sad part is it had the ability to be great. And it's so intricately done. It's beautiful. And rewatching it, I'm like, I miss this. And this is why I was fighting with people about the Willow series. I really enjoyed the Willow series, but you could tell those people were on a set. You could tell in this movie there are extras, there are horses, there are crowds, everybody, the armor, the costuming, everything is done to the nth degree. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And guess what? It starts off real strong, right? It starts off real strong. And then it pitter-patters away and gets shitty. And guess who wrote it? Benioff from Game of Thrones, the showrunner. And if you've been over here, you know how I feel about, do I think they are the strongest showrunners? No. Do I think they're the strongest writers? No, not at all. Do I think they are to blame for the entire ending of Game of Thrones? No, I also don't believe that. But I think they got too much hate for that. But no, they're not strong writers. They're not, and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly why this isn't up here. And it's just an early 2000s wannabe Gladiator movie that we really love and cherish. But it's not bad. It's not awful. And honestly, the stuff I felt like was most shoehorned in and was dilly-dallying the most was the love interest with Achilles. I was like, I don't hate this, but you're spending way too much time here. Let's get back to the other stuff. Because another thing I didn't really realize is there's like 4 battles that happen before we even get to Hector and Achilles standoff. Their combat. Like, it goes down more than once. The choreography is great. When we meet Achilles is great. The introduction to all of these characters, like I said, it starts off real strong, and every actor's trying their hardest, and the sets are beautiful, and the shots are beautiful, and Sean Bean's there, and it's awesome, and it's great. But then towards the middle and end, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and I'm like, this is something this man deals with, obviously, because, everything else about this screams it should be amazing. It should be great. And I love it. And honestly, there's like, I was really trying to watch it differently today because I always think like, oh yeah, Paris, you're a little bee, like, you little whiny. But then watching it back today, I'm like, yeah, no, you are. You're embarrassing out here, Orlando Bloom. But at the same time, I really loved their dad having his relationship with each son and them showing that. Oh, and by the way, Garrett Hedlund, we stand Garrett Hedlund here from the Tron legacy. He's in Friday Night Lights. He's in all the jammies, but specifically here in Michigan, we have a really special place in our heart for 4 brothers, and he's the youngest one who gets killed. Yeah, the best. 4 brothers, love it. But Garrett Hedlund plays Patroclus. Now stick with me here. Don't get too angry. But in my opinion, Achilles is a gay icon, like 100%. And there are iterations that suggest that Patroclus was his lover. And if you look at it this way, like I said, if I hurt your little feelings saying that, please just stick with me for a moment. From a storytelling standpoint, if we have Paris snatching up Helen of Troy out of love, we're starting this war out of love, right? And then we have Achilles have his person that he loves killed on accident. That's when you desecrate somebody's body in front of an entire city, to the point where we still use that dialogue today. When people say dragged for filth, that comes from drag your name through the mud, which comes from Achilles dragging Hector's desecrated body on the back of his chariot. You don't just do that for your cousin or your pal. You do that for the person you loved. And this person started a war over someone they loved. And that combination right there makes it more better of a story. Pretend it's a lady in your head, but I'm like, no, man. Come on. Patroclus totally had something going on with Achilles. But this movie really felt the need to shove in the love interest, which I didn't mind that at all. I didn't mind him having a love interest, but I just was like, we're dilly-dallying. We are dilly-dallying. Let's get back out there. Let's get back. Let's go to the greatness. And then there's just too much. There's too much of that. And I just would have cut it back a little bit. Eric Bana, he is just killing it. They really make you... Do you know how hard it is to have two characters go mano y mano the way Hector and Achilles do? And we like both of them. And we know it's going to... If you know it, you know what's going to happen to Hector. But to have us like them both that much in this movie and go like, you know what? We still like Achilles. That's hard to do. That's hard to do with characters. And it's great all around. Oh my God, Lord Commander Mormont is there. James Cosmo. We have James Cosmo, Brendan Gleeson, Brian Cox, Peter O'Toole, Sean Bean, Brad Pitt, Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom. Like, what? This, I don't know how you got all these people to sign on. And like I've been saying, it's all there. And some of these scenes are so great. And even those scenes between Helen and Hector are great. The scenes between Orlando Bloom and Eric Bana are great, of them being like, I love you, brother. Like, I'm gonna stand by you. They're great scenes. They really are. They could be better. It's the writing. It is not the actors. But there's definitely some things that rewatching it today, I really was like, you know, little things I didn't really notice in this, like when Helen tries to dip and Hector's like, shut up, but doesn't get mad at her. He's not angry at her. The one person that I always really felt for, and I think we're supposed to, is Hector's wife. Man, you really get shafted hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sucks. But this isn't, I'll stand by this. I don't think this is it's not good. It's not like the Citizen Kane of Swords and Sandals movies, because that's what the early 2000s did after Gladiator came out. We got Gladiator, we got 300, we got Troy, but after Gladiator, we really got hit with a lot of Swords and Sandals stuff. I think they did an Alexander the Great that was really bad. Oh my God, wasn't Colin Farrell in that? It was just not good. But they were really churning those out, and out of all of them, I mean, 300 is great. 300 changed things, but it ain't no Gladiator either. But Troy is, I mean, we joke about Troy, but it's not as bad, I think, as people think. And like I said, everything is there. But when I saw that David Benioff wrote it, I was like, there it is. There it is. Starting off strong, get to the middle strong, dilly-dallying, pacing, timing issues. And that isn't just the writing. That's also the editor's fault. But I guarantee you the studio was like, throw in a girl and throw in this. And I'm like, yes, have the girl there. That's fine. But you could have cut way back there. You could have cut a few other things out and just get back to the action. We want to see the Battle of Troy. When they hold them off at the walls, that's sick. That's awesome. When Brian Cox is screaming like, I've never retreated. It's enthralling to watch. It really is. Everything like that is great. It's the dialogue one-on-one that doesn't hit all the time, and it's none of these actors' fault. I think that Brian Cox kills it. I think that everybody else is doing what they can. That scene when Peter O'Toole comes to Brad Pitt's tent, to Achilles' tent, and he gets on his knees and kisses his hands, and he's like, I just kissed the hands of the man who murdered my son, and Achilles looks at him like, man, and they have their back and forth. That was great. That was really good. And then I'm like, man, if all of the movie could have had writing like this, it would be up there with, we wouldn't be saying like, oh, it's just a Swords and Sandals movie from the early 2000s that people now are probably going to make fun of if they watch it. No, we love it. But I think it would technically be a great if the writing was better. But if you were thinking about, or just missed Brian Cox like I did, running through Troy, I highly suggest it. And I just hopped on here for fun. I don't know if you even want to call this a review, but there was definitely things in this that it lacked, and there was a director's cut that I didn't watch, but the story of Achilles, if I'm not mistaken, is he gets dipped, he's a demigod, his mom's a god, right? And then, or a demigod, he's related to a god somehow, but they dip him in the water, the special water, but they missed his Achilles heel, and that's why it's his weakness. And I vaguely remember seeing that imagery, but that could have been somewhere else. And now I'm like, or maybe it was this director's cut and somebody owned that. I don't know. But I love the scene with him and his mom. I think that's great. I think that him not bringing it up to anybody it makes it even better and otherworldly. And that way, when he starts talking about the gods, it makes more sense. But it's not really established that he is kind of a demigod a little bit. Like, that's not explicitly said. And I wish it kind of was not explicitly said, because I like the way they do it, but leaned into a little bit more because it would make more sense. When he cuts the head off the statue of Apollo, that is one of the baddest scenes, because everybody even on his side is like, don't do that. That's so disrespectful. And he's like, pfft. And when he's having the conversation with that woman about it, I love it. And I do love everything with him and his cousin. I do. I'm just saying my interpretation of reading it. I'm like, I don't think this was a cousin. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't think it may, and it makes more sense for the story as a whole. But it's a jam. It's a jam. And like I said, I don't blame the actors. I don't blame the director. But I'm like, the writing was weak at points, and everybody, I think, was trying their hardest, but it's a beautiful movie. And the score and the music is amazing. And I really hated Orlando Bloom before, but rewatching it with older eyes, I'm like, okay. And like, even Eric Bana, Eric Bana is just hyping everybody up the whole movie, and it's great. But yeah, I'm like, everything was there. So why do we remember this kind of as like a joke? Because it's pretty great. But yeah, I'm Abby with More City Nerds, and I just wanted to yell about Troy for a minute because I miss Brian Cox. And it's great. And he did say that in his recent interview, he was like, Agamemnon was the only role I sought out, because I was like, I can do this. I can do this. And it's great. And he's great. It's amazing. If you haven't watched Troy, go watch Troy. And I'm Abby with More City Nerds. Like, share, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm on OnlyF. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the stuff down below. I know this is really short, but I just wanted to show some appreciation for Troy, because we are lions. And it's awesome. And I love it. And everybody should. Man, get up, son of Troy. A stone will not take my glory. God damn, Brad Pitt.